Have you ever held a Bible and wondered how much of this is exactly what they wrote? It's a quiet question, one that many people keep to themselves, especially when they hear the statistics. You might have heard the claim that there are thousands of mistakes. Some say up to 400,000 in the New Testament manuscripts alone. If your faith rests on these words, that number sounds devastating. It feels like the foundation is crumbling. What if that number isn't what we think it is? Today, we're looking at the paper trail, physical evidence, because when we look at the facts, the anxiety starts to fade. Textual scholars don't look at those differences and call them errors. They use a different word. They call them variants. A variant simply means that one handwritten copy differs from another copy in some way. That's all it means. It's not a corruption. It's a footprint. Think about it this way. If we only had one perfect copy that appeared out of nowhere 500 years ago, we would have no way to verify it. We wouldn't know where it came from. But footprints show us exactly where the text has walked. Through history, through different countries, through the hands of different scribes. Instead of ruining the path, these variants actually allow us to track the word straight back to the source. See how these footprints work? Imagine a classroom, 50 students. Teacher stands at the front and reads a single paragraph out loud. All 50 students write it down by hand. Naturally, mistakes will happen. One student might misspell a word. Another might get distracted, skip an entire line. Another might mishear a phrase. Now, imagine the teacher's original paper is destroyed. Have we lost the original paragraph forever? Just because the students made mistakes? No. You simply lay all 50 copies on a desk and you compare them. A student who skipped a line is immediately exposed because the other 49 students have the correct sentence. The misspelled word, it's corrected by the overwhelming majority who spell it right. The mistakes actually expose each other. By comparing the flawed copies, what historians call the witnesses, we can reconstruct the original text with absolute certainty. This reveals a powerful truth about our documentary evidence. A high number of variants is not something to fear. It's exactly what we want. More copies. It means more footprints and more witnesses to verify the truth of what was originally said. So, we have thousands of copies and a massive number of variants. 400,000. But when historians actually look at them, what are they? If you hear that number, you might imagine 400,000 lies, 400,000 removed verses, 400,000 theological changes. But that isn't the reality. The overwhelming majority of these variants, over 99% of them, change absolutely nothing. Let me show you why. Most of them are simply spelling differences. Imagine a scribe writing the name John. One scribe spells it with one N. Another spells it with two. That counts as a variant. Or think about the English words a and an. We say a book, but an apple. Greek has something very similar. Scribes sometimes added a letter at the end of a word just to make it sound smoother before the next vowel. Every single time that happens across thousands of copies, it gets counted in that 400,000. But the meaning hasn't shifted an inch. Then there is word order. In English, word order is everything. If I say, the dog bit the man, that is very different from the man bit the dog. The order tells you who is doing the action. Greek doesn't work that way. In Greek, the spelling of the word itself tells you who's doing the action. So a scribe could write, the dog bit the man, or bit the man, the dog, or the man, the dog bit. In Greek, all three sentences mean exactly the same thing. But because the words are in a different order on the page, each one counts as a variant. Thousands and thousands of variants are just scribes putting the exact same words in a slightly different sequence. When we strip away the spelling differences and the word order differences, that terrifying number of 400,000 shrinks down to almost nothing. The vast ocean of variance isn't a sign of corruption. It's just the normal footprint of human beings writing in a human language. The message itself remains completely untouched. So, if spelling and word order makes up the vast majority, what about the rest? What happens when a scribe actually misses something? When a word or an entire line is just gone? If you don't know how these documents were made, a missing line looks like a conspiracy. It looks like someone's trying to hide the truth. But we have to remember the reality of the ancient world. No printing presses, no copy-paste, just a person, a piece of parchment, and an inkwell, working for hours, sometimes by candlelight, getting tired. Imagine a scribe copying a paragraph. He reads a sentence that ends with the word light. He looks down at his page to write it. Then he looks back up to find his place. But his eye catches the word light 2 sentences further down the page, and he continues copying from there. He didn't mean to change the Bible. He didn't have a theological agenda. He just blinked. and an entire sentence was accidentally left out. When a modern reader hears that sentence is missing, panic sets in. But historians don't panic, because they remember the classroom. If one student gets distracted and skips a line, do we lose the paragraph? No, because the other 49 students in the room did not look away at that exact millisecond. Their copies have the missing sentence. When we lay the manuscripts side by side, the mistake is instantly exposed. We can see exactly what happened. We can see the word light in both places. We can see exactly where the scribe's eye skipped. It isn't a mystery. It isn't corruption. This is the beauty of the documentary evidence. Because we have so many copies from so many different places, the honest mistakes stand out clearly. The sheer volume of the evidence acts like a safety net, catching the human errors and preserving the original words. So we don't have to fear the tired scribes. The evidence corrects them. We've looked at spelling. We've looked at honest, tired mistakes. But there's one more category. And for many, it's the most unsettling one. What happens when a scribe intentionally changes the text? What happens when they add something that the original author never wrote? It sounds like the ultimate corruption. When we look closely, we find something fascinating. Most of the time, these scribes were not trying to destroy the Bible. They were trying to help it. They were reading a verse, and they felt it needed more explanation, or they wanted it to match a tradition that had developed in their church. So they added a few words, or an entire sentence, just to make it clearer. There's a very famous example of this in the first letter of John, chapter 5, verse 7. If you read certain older English translations, you will find a very specific phrase, a phrase about the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost being one. It's a very clear statement, very explicit. But there's a problem. When historians look at the ancient Greek copies, the earliest witnesses, that phrase isn't there. It doesn't exist in the Greek manuscripts. For over 1,000 years after the text was written, it was added much later by scribes who wanted the text to explicitly state a later church tradition. When people hear this, it can shake their confidence. If scribes could just add their traditions to the Bible, how can we trust any of it? But remember the classroom. If one student decides to add a sentence to the teacher's paragraph because they think it sounds better, do they permanently change the teacher's original message? No, because there are 49 other copies on the desk when we cross-reference them. The student who added the sentence stands out immediately. We don't have to guess. If that added phrase in 1 John was original, for thousands of earlier pristine copies prove that it wasn't. The later addition is completely exposed by the overwhelming weight of the earlier evidence. This is the ultimate proof that the system works. Even when human tradition tried to insert itself into the text, the sheer volume of the paper trail caught it red-handed. The massive number of variants is exactly what protects the Bible from being rewritten by tradition. When we put all this together, the picture completely changes. That terrifying number, 400,000 variants, is no longer a reason to doubt. It's the reason we can trust. Because of the spelling differences, because of the honest mistakes, and even because of the intentional additions, we have a trail, a massive, overlapping, self-correcting trail. No single scribe in any century could successfully hijack the text. No single church tradition could permanently rewrite the words to fit their later theology, because there were always too many other copies, too many other witnesses waiting in the classroom to expose the change. We do not have to guess what the original authors wrote, and because we know what they wrote, we do not have to rely on later traditions to tell us what it means. We can just read the text. The documentary evidence gives us the freedom to let the Bible speak for itself, without assuming, without adding, without importing ideas that were never there. So the next time you open the text, you can read it with absolute confidence. You are holding a message that survived the centuries, guarded by its own footprints. Until next time, take it slow and let the text lead the way.